Alright, guys. As you can clearly see, I am not there today. So I hope you're doing what you should be doing. Um, we're going to refocus back on proportions. So we talked about proportions at the beginning of the week, and then we got into slope. So when we talked about proportions, everyone was, dude, this is so easy with proportions, man. It's like, 1/2 equals 2/4, and 4/8, and it's like, oh man. And we got to see it on the graph, and we could see it going through the origin, the 0, 0. And it was really easy to take a look at, and it was really easy to do. And that was great. Once we started talking about slope, people got a little, it was a little challenging, so we took a couple days on it. So we're going to go back to proportions. So your quiz tomorrow, your quiz Friday, is going to be on proportions and slope. So since we're going to focus mostly on proportions, I decided that I was going to show you the algebraic expressions for proportions as well. So this is the handout that you should have. So it should look something like this. And one thing when I made these copies is it didn't copy quite right. So we're stuck with this. So one thing I want you guys to do is to help me fill in these lines here. So you're going to take your pencil and you're going to draw the box in at the top. My line's not going to be very straight. I'm drawing this on a pad. So my stuff's not going to be super straight. Yours probably be a little more straight, but it's all good. It's all good. So let me change the color here. So we're going to fill in some lines here. So this is going to be 4/3 equals 6 over x. And this one over here is going to be 2 over 10 equals 4 over n plus 5. So I know what you guys are saying. Oh man, Mr. Schwartz, this does not at all look like what we did on Monday. And to you, I would say you're right. This is not at all looking like what we did on Monday. However, I would tell you that this is going to be super easy. Before you start flipping out and saying, I don't know, this looks rough, let me show you a little trick here. So back in the day, you guys might have done something called the Crisscross Method or the butterfly method or whatever people call it. But I like taking it and I look at my 4 and I look at my 6 and I'm going to circle my 4 and my 6. So when I circle my 4 and my 6, I'm going to do the exact same thing to the opposite side, the 3 and the x. And now what this is saying is that we have 4 and 6 together, so 4 times 6, and we have 3 times x. So if I multiply, if I write out that problem, 3 times, or I could do my dot, 3 times x. Actually, you know what? I am going to do my dot because if we have a multiplication symbol and an x, it's going to look funky. So 3 times x equals, so 3 times x equals 4 times 6. And all we have to do is we just have to solve this. So this is our basic algebraic expression, right? We've got a variable on one side. That's all it is. So now if we multiply 3 times x, we get 3x equals 4 times 6. 4 times 6 is going to be 24. And we just simply draw our balance like we normally do, right? So what do we do to get rid of that 3x? We need to use the inverse operation, as we always do every single time we have an algebraic expression. So 3x, to get rid of that, we're going to divide by 3. So that's going to cross out here, leave me with just my x on one side. 3 times x, 3x divided by 3. So whatever I do to one side of the balance, I have to do the other. So 3, right? 24 divided by 3 will leave me with 8. So 24 divided by 3 leaves me with 8. So I have x equals 8. Now if we punch this in, this x equals 8 into our equation, so we have 4 over 3. That's a really tiny 3. Let me fix that real quick. So we have 4 over 3 equals 8 over 6. And are these equivalent fractions? Well, yeah, absolutely. So 4/3 is equivalent to 8/6. So anytime that we do one of these problems, one of these algebraic proportions, we will get the same answer here. And if we think about this like we were thinking about our slope, our rise and run, so we rise 4, that means that we're going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 3, 1, 2, 3. If I do this twice, it's going to be equivalent to going up 8 and over 6. So it's an equivalent fraction. It's going to have our slope going straight through. Right? Let's try that again. This time it's going to be a little different. Not necessarily harder, but a little bit different. So we have 2, and we're going to circle. We're going to do our crisscross or our butterfly or whatever we want to call it. 2 times n plus 5, and then we have 10 times 4. So we have on one side 2 times n plus 5 equals 2 times, oh, that's not 2 times 4. That's going to be equal to 4 times 10, right? So now we're just going to solve. Well, I know from my rules of solving my equations that in order to solve something like this, I have to distribute. We have to distribute. So 2 times n is going to give me 2n. 2 times 5 is going to give me a positive 10 equals 4 times 10. That will give me 40. Right? Now I'm just going to write my balance like I normally would. All right, so now we just have a two-step equation. Instead of having our single one-step equation over on this side, we now have a two-step equation. So we have 2n plus 10 equals 40. To get rid of this 10 here, I have to now subtract 10. So I subtract 10 from one side. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. This crosses out. I bring down my 2n equals 40 minus 10, 30. Right? And now I have 2n equals 30. And I have to do the same exact thing that I did on my other side. And that is divide by 2. So divide by 2. So that's going to leave me, it's going to cross out my 2's here, so it's going to leave me with n equals 15. 30 divided by 2 is 15. That leaves me with n equals, just erased my balance, that's not good. N equals 15. Let's do a different color to check this. Let's see, let's go with super pink. Super pink. So n equals 15. Now to check that, we're just going to make sure that n actually does equal 15. 2 over 10 equals 4 over 15 plus 5. Now I just need to look at this. I will go ahead and add the 15 plus 5. So that's going to be 20. So I've got 4 over 20 equals 2 over 10. Is this an equivalent fraction? Absolutely. Absolutely. So all we're doing essentially is we are doing the crisscross method or the butterfly method, however you guys think or however you guys want to think about it. That's all we're doing. Now, I'm going to go down to number 3. And I want you to pause the video. So I'm going to give you a second to pause the video. And I want to see if you guys can figure out y minus 3 over 2 equals y over 5. Some of you guys may look at that and go, oh, well, I know the answer. And you might. You might. But remember, like we were doing one-step equations with variables, we need to show our work. If we don't show our work when we have the simple problems, like this one or this one, when we get to the really complex problems, it's going to be a really, really difficult task for us. So go ahead and pause the video, and I will let you solve it. All right, you think you have the answer? Let's find out. So we're going to take and do our crisscross, or our butterfly, or whatever we want to call this. And those are terrible. Those were terrible. I couldn't even see the numbers. So we do our crisscross. So y minus 3 times 5, and then y times 2, or 2 times y. So I'm gonna put my distributive property on this side. So 5 times y minus 3 is going to equal 2y. And now we do the same thing that we had to do at number 2, which is distribute. So 5 times y and 5 times negative 3. So that's going to leave us with 5y minus 15. Negative 15 equals 2y. So I draw my balance, as I always do. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Well, I know I want my variables on the left. So I'm going to do my whoop-de-whoop, whoop-whoop. So I'm going to take my 2y and move it from this side to this side over here. So this cancels out. Now, a lot of people, so that's going to leave me with 3y. That's going to leave me with 3y minus 15 equals, and a lot of people would say, oh no, there's no solution. What do I do? Well, in reality, there is a solution, because 2y minus 2y just leaves us with 0. Big fat goose egg. So what do I have to do to now get my constant number, or my whole number, over to the other side? Well, I have to add 15. Add 15 to this side, and I add 15 to this side. So this is going to cross out, that's going to cross out. I'm going to be left with 3y equals 15. And now we know what to do. Now it's back to the normal stuff, back to the easy stuff. So we have 3y equals 15. I divide by 3 on both sides to get rid of my 3 here. So I'm left with y equals 5. So y equals 5. Now, did you get y equals 5? If not, we got to check our math. If you did, let's see if this actually does work. So anytime we see a y, we're going to put in 5, because y equals 5. So 5 minus 3 over 2 equals 5 over 5. Well, if I take 5 minus 3, that's going to leave me with 2 over 2 equals 5 over 5. Are these equivalent fractions? Well, of course they are. If I have 2 out of 2 pieces of pizza, I've got the whole pizza. If I have 5 out of 5 pieces of pizza, I've got the whole pizza. So this actually equals 1 equals 1. And that is a check mark. That does work out. So for my final example that I'm going to give to you guys, I'm going to let you guys pause so you guys can see if you will solve it on your own. So go ahead and pause, and then I'll work you through this as well. All right, I hope we got it right. Let's see. So first things first, we're going to do our crisscross or butterfly or whatever anybody wants to call this, but we're going to multiply by the corners. All right, so now we have 2k minus 3 times 5, and then we have k plus 9 times 3. To write that out, we're just simply going to do I'm going to start with the 5 down here. I'm going to start with the 5. So 5, and then we got 2k minus 3 equals 3 times k plus 9. And the way we're going to do this is we're simply going to distribute like normal. So 5 times 2k will give us 10k. 5 times a negative 3 will give us negative 15 equals 3 times k will give us 3k. And then 3 times 9 will give us a positive 27. So now I do my balance as per usual, and then I take my 3k, do my whoop-de-whoop, whoop-whoop, get rid of that, move that over to the other side. 3k minus 3k is nothing. 10 minus 3k will give us 7k. 7k, I bring down my negative 15 equals 27. All right, so now in order to get rid of this 15, I have to move it to the other side. So I have 15, so I add 15 to this side, and I add 15 to the other side. So 15 plus 27 is going to give us 42. These cross out over here, and I just bring down my 7k. 7k equals 42. We do the same thing that we've been doing. We divide by 7, divide by 7. These cross out. That leaves me with k equals, and then that's going to be 42 divided by 7 will give us 6. K equals 6. So, k equals 6. Let's check that out. Let's see if that actually does work. So, I have 2 times 6 minus 3 over 6. That's not a 6. I don't even know what I was trying to write there. Over, I think I might run out a little bit of room here, but hey, we'll work it. 6 plus 9, and that's going to equal 3/5. So I do my multiplication. That will be 12. So that will be 12. 2 times 6 is going to be 12. So there we go. 12 minus 3. 12 minus 3 will leave me with 9. And then 6 plus 9 will be 15, 9/15. And then that is equal to 3/5. Is that an equivalent fraction? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So that means that if we punch in our variable and we just solve the equation, check. Check. That works. And a little tip. If you are really unsure if this is equivalent, if you're like, man, I really don't know if that's equivalent. If you do the crisscross method here, or the butterfly method here, and you multiply 9 times 5 will be 45. And then 15 times 3 will also be 45. So you can check that way to see if they're equivalent. So that's a little tidbit, that's a little trick for you if you are really uncertain if something is equivalent. You can do the crisscross method down there as well. Alright, so now it's your turn to practice. And what I'm going to ask of you is to be on a level 2, which is normal talking voice. So I need you guys to stay focused, be on a level 2, and I don't mind if you guys work in pairs or in groups to solve the rest of these problems. Remember, you're going to crisscross or do the butterfly. So you're going to cross multiply. So you're going to cross multiply, and then you are going to put your variable in. So you're going to cross multiply, solve, and then check. So cross multiply, solve, check. That's what I'm going to ask of you. If you do these 3 steps, you will 100% get these problems right. It's not rocket engineering when it comes to cross multiplying, solving, and check. Just make sure that you do your crisscross. You write out your problem. You solve using your balance, and then you put your x equals into your x. You put your solution into the x. All right. Now, that is all for this. I will leave this up on the board, so if you want to pause, this, you can just pause and leave it as it is. And I will allow the teacher that's in there just to leave this up on the screen so you guys have a reference. All right. Now, I want to talk about the back before you guys get started. I want to talk about the back. So if I open up my file to this here, this is the back of your page. Now, this here says 3 and start. Let me make this a little bigger for you. All right. So this says start and 3. So this right here is going to be the answer to number 1. It's going to be 3. The answer to number 2 is going to be one of these numbers. Be one of any of these numbers. So let's say the answer to number 2 is 12, since it's right there, right? You'll draw a line from your answer to number 1 to your answer to number 2. Then when you get the answer to number 3, you're going to draw a line to that answer. So it'll draw out some kind of picture, and when you finish up to 18, you will have a picture. And remember, the picture is asking, are you a proportion superstar? I don't know. I don't know. Guess you'll find out. So I'll let you guys work. This should take you the remainder of the class. If you finish early and you get your picture, you can show it to the teacher and she will give you your homework. Speaking of homework, I know you guys love homework and you love how much homework I give you. This is going to be what your homework looks like. It's only 12 problems. Hopefully it'll be pretty easy for you. What I'm going to say is that depending on the behavior of the class, the teacher will either assign the whole paper, if you guys have been disruptive, the whole page. If not, she can either assign odds or evens. I'll let that be completely up to her or him. And we'll go from there. Alright guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you study for your quiz. I know I usually don't give homework for quizzes, but I feel like this will benefit you, and I don't think it's too hard. I think you guys understand slope very well. I think you guys get proportions. I think you guys are solid, and I have a lot of faith in you, and I know that you're going to do well. Alright kids, talk to you on the flippity flop.